Game of Thrones Season 8 left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And now here comes House of the Dragon to cleanse everyone's palate. Did they do it? Well, let's find out. So the episode starts out pretty strong, right? With the backstory. And I really like origin stories personally. So getting that back, like that lore in the beginning of the show was pretty cool. The show continues on from there, and it gets a little... It didn't really do much for me, to be honest. Up until the end of the episode. Near the end is when things pick up, and I'm like, okay, I see where things are going. The ball's rolling, right? Like visually, I feel like the show changed too. Like the use of music, it started picking up. Like everything, just visually and acoustic, like sonically, everything started picking up, and it started getting good. The story started picking up. We'll get into spoilers a little bit later. I don't want to right now, but we have to compare it to Game of Thrones, right? It's cool that they had nods to the original Game of Thrones soundtrack, which is nice, and I believe it is scored by the original guy, Ramin Djawadi, if I pronounce his name correctly. Same guy did Iron Man 1. But really, yeah, let's compare it to Game of Thrones. For me personally, it didn't compare to the first episode of Game of Thrones. I like the first episode of Game of Thrones more, definitely. And a lot of that comes down to the characters. There is no Tyrion. Like in the first episode of Game of Thrones, I already liked Tyrion. I already liked Arya. I already liked Ned Stark. I already liked Jon Snow, right? I like the idea of the dire wolves. Like the characters were much better in the first episode of Game of Thrones, to me, in my opinion. There's no standout character where I'm like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be my favorite character in the show. I didn't find it. I didn't get that from anybody. Like maybe Daemon Targaryen, but he is not that great of a guy, you know. So I don't see me really. I didn't like anybody really, which is unfortunate. I can't really say, yeah, this is my favorite character. I can't really say, yeah, I really like this character to any of the characters. I guess that's one of the reasons why it didn't grasp me, because none of the characters really grasped me. All right, let's talk about spoilers now. So we got spoiler territory right now. I'm going to talk about where the story picks up, right? This show was graphic. Definitely more graphic than the first episode of Game of Thrones. We had people being killed and slaughtered all over the place. There was not much violence in the first episode of Game of Thrones. We had nudity, we had graphic violence. We had a whole bunch in this episode. That jousting match, the birthing scene, oh my, that was hard to watch. That was bad. That was intense. That was intense. But talking about the end of the episode, that's where it really got my attention. Was after the king's son died, after just a few hours, after his wife died, and Daemon Targaryen jokingly says, king for a few hours or something like that, king for the day, right? And he goes to the throne and he stands before the king. And that scene, from that moment on, I liked it. From that moment on, I liked it. I felt like, okay, this is a Game of Thrones successor, and I'm curious to see where things are going. So I'm going to watch episode 2. I'm going to continue with the show, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so now let's rate this thing. I would give the first episode of the House of the Dragon 1 thumbs up. That'll probably be around a mid to high 7 out of 10. Like 7.5, 7.6, 7.9, 7, 7.8, somewhere around that ballpark. All right, I'm smart. I'm not putting myself in a box with these reviews because I know in the future I'm going to be trapped. So it's going to be around that ballpark. I thought it was good. It wasn't fantastic, but I thought it was good. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.